Does your financial advisor take the time to really listen to you? Is your financial strategy personalized to you and your family? Will your financial advisor be there as your life and financial situation change? Hi, I'm Jerry Mangona, your Edward Jones financial advisor, and I live here in Corktown, just a few blocks from the Daily Detroit studios. When we work together, we'll focus on what's important to you. We'll use an established process to create a personalized financial strategy backed by the advice, tools, and resources to help you reach your goals. And we'll partner to help your strategy stay on track. Contact me toll-free today at 866-975-8655. Again, that's 866-975-8655. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hello, friends, and welcome to your Daily Detroit. It is a beautiful Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. I'm Jer Stays, and my Eastside friends, welcome to fish fly season. It has truly begun. Joining me on the line, Runyan, Urbanize Detroit. So good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too, Jer. Happy solstice, happy midsummer.
Ooh, yes. Well, and it is such a busy time of year. I feel like, of course, we're going to talk about development in a minute. But there is so much stuff happening this weekend that, I feel like we just got to pull a couple of corners and kind of jump into it. So I know that you are a fan of the Eastern Palace Club. And we mentioned, engineer Randy and I talked a little bit about it when it first opened. But, you want to give a place some time to find a vibe. So, Robin, what's your verdict and what's going on over there?
It's definitely a vibe, Jer. Eastern Palace Club is over in Hazel Park between 8 and 9 Mile. They say about the Key West theme, very beachy, laid back. They do a lot of events there. Their drinks are fantastic, especially one that I had last night, which is a midsummer sunrise. Okay, to be quite clear, I get it every time I go there, but it felt very special since it's midsummer anyway. But it has tequila and all these fruit juices, and it's just a really lovely drink.
That sounds awesome. When I visited a couple of times, at first I was kind of mistaken for a tiki vibe, and really it's much more of a Key West thing.
Yeah, it's more just beachy, it's super chill, and they do a lot of different stuff there, but it's the staff is really great. It's an easy place and it's fun, so I dig it.
I understand there's a couple of things happening this weekend from it. I got a couple of emails, and do you know more?
I know a little bit. They're having this Sandbar Summerfest. It's going to be a lot of live music, very beachy, islandy type of music, including yacht rock, which I am a fan.
Okay, so let's talk about yacht rock for a second. What is the ultimate yacht rock for you?
I'm definitely a Michael McDonald girl.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
I will admit that I was listening to Brandy, You're a Fine Girl, and then also...
oh, God, that's terrible.
And then, What You Won't Do for Love, which is kind of in that zone, I think. It just, yacht rock brings you out. I think yesterday I had a meeting out in the suburbs, and I ended up driving a lot of the lodge, all the way into Northwestern Highway. And I felt like yacht rock matched the 80s, 70s vibe of all the buildings out there when I'm in that Northwestern Highway to the lodge merging point. I was like, it's the music and the setting all matched together.
Sure, I'll take it. I go out there often. I've never picked up that vibe out there, but if it works, it works.
So yeah, there's a lot of things going on there, and I'm sure we can put a link in the show notes to the Eastern Palace Club. I'm going to do a rapid fire of some things happening because it is event season. So first off, if you want to get in touch with your 90s self, which, of course, I'm all about formative years. There's actually a music fest in Taylor with the Gin Blossoms on Friday, which I know it sounds absurd, right? But you know what? If you're going to see him, go see him in a really small venue or whatever. Then I was like, you know what? If I can cheap tickets, I'm all about it. And I know our listeners are about the cheap and cheerful.
Oh, yeah.
So why not, right? You're not going to spend a ton of money, and it's a fun little kind of throwaway time and get back to the city or whatever. There's a Dancing with the Dogs dog prom, which I did not know about until yesterday, or else I would have gotten studio dog Gabby ready for this.
Yeah, can you tell me about this? Bootsy doesn't dress up. Let me specify right now. Bootsy does not wear clothes. He does not.
Not
he
even a
does
bow
not-
tie?
Well, he did wear a necktie once. It was a special occasion.
You see, Gabby likes the pibber pearls, like the dog pearls, and like she wants to do it up. She likes being the center of attention.
Yeah.
So she would be all about this, but I don't have time to get there. But if you do, it is on Saturday from 2 to 4. There's also a Detroit City FC game on Saturday evening, which of course our team will be at. On Sunday, there's Palmer Park Historic Log Cabin Day. That's a family-friendly thing if that's your vibe, a little bit of history thing. There's an ice cream social, something to stop into. And then Black Panther at the DSO is this weekend, both on Friday and on Sunday. And I really am looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. Sounds like there's a little bit for everyone there. And I'll put a plug in for one of my favorite things that is also happening at Eastern Palace Club, which is my new wave dance party called Happy Endings. That is Saturday night. And it's all the music that I love. And you can dance to it.
You could be out this entire weekend if you want to be, right? Stick your beak into everything that is wonderful about Detroit. Now, we've got some development news to talk about. This got broke by Crane's Detroit Business in Kirk Pinot, but I feel like we need to discuss it because it is a project that has caught the imagination of so many people for a very long time. And let me set this up. Friend of the show, David, I was doing some research on this, and he tweeted about this back in 2016. I had forgotten how long this project has been on the drawing board, and that is apartment buildings and a Target in Midtown. Apparently, they have lost their financing from a Chicago-based bank. I will put all of the links in the show notes so you can dive into it more. The developer, Jonathan Holtzman, says he's going to get it done with another bank. But, the brownfield stuff has passed. A bunch of things have passed on this one. This has been thought about for like 7 or 8 years. This iteration of the design would have been more than $100 million. A couple of buildings, hundreds of apartments. And of course, the thing that everyone pays attention to, because I don't think anyone would pay attention to this project to the amount that they do if there wasn't the tease of like a 31,000 square foot city style Target. Robin, you know what? I'm not going to color with my thoughts. I want to hear yours first.
Yeah, it's this whole Target thing that just keeps bringing people back to it. I remember the first time, people were talking about it in 2016. I think it was supposed to be like over on John R. first or somewhere over there, like maybe behind where the mid, that's a whole other thing. But I think it was supposed to be over there. And then it kind of got this landing place here on this corner. City Club Apartments is doing it. So the interview with Crane's, Jonathan Holtzman says, it's not Detroit, it's not the project, it's the bank. And I think that would actually be really interesting to dig into because I think there's a lot that we don't know about loans and everything right now. I hope it gets built. I mean, I think it would be a really great development, really big project. He says, maybe later this year if they can get the financing in place. It's hard to believe in anything until we see shovels in the ground, right? Like we know this.
Well, on this one, I'm just going to be honest with you. Would I like a Target in the greater downtown area? Absolutely. I actually have an idea I want to share with you later and see what you think. Completely wildcat, no sources, pure speculation. But first, here's the thing. It's been 7, 8 years, whatever. At what point are we just doing insanity here? Like, to me, I want this to happen. But on the other hand, from like a realistic standpoint, I'm putting the plans for this one in the round circular file, and a bank needs to come by and grab them out of there soon because you had that building get vacated. That was the home of the Red Cross. That building area now has got a homeless encampment on it. There's all these things happening right next door with the AC Marriott and whatever. Like, at what point do we just say, you know what, maybe that spot isn't the spot. Maybe we need to think about something else. Because if, in a normal city, we would know by now, right? Like, in a normal situation, we should know by now, is this happening? Or it would have been already built a long time ago. And it also worries me about this lending because I've heard a lot of rumblings about issues with commercial lending for office space. If we get into some issues for commercial lending for residential, I feel like we have a whole nother situation going on. And, with liquidity in the banks, and that was specifically called out as things like liquidity. I don't know what you think, Robin.
And I don't think this whole project is 7 years old. Like the specific one is, just a few years old, but it does have the Target in it. So I mean, the target was supposed to be in another location beforehand.
Okay.
This whole area around Soma, south of Mac Avenue.
Every time someone says that, all I can think about is the South Park skit.
I know.
Soma.
But I mean, this whole thing has taken a lot of shapes over the last few years. I think it's a really good thing that the hotel is underway because it shows that things are happening. So it might maybe make it easier, for the other developments to get going again. Like I said, I just hope for the best, shovels in ground.
For sure. Now, this is a wildcat idea here, and tell me if it's crazy.
Okay.
But I was driving around last night and going by News Center, and I remembered about the Albert Kahn building. Now, the Albert Kahn building, recently toured. It's got apartments upstairs and all that other stuff in that News Center area that, people are really looking at, maybe, more things happening, whatever. Anyway, I had remembered that through like 1940 to 1980, it was actually Saks Fifth Avenue store number 4. And it got replaced in a way by the Saks Fifth Avenue in Troy that opened up in like 69, which became the literal genesis of Somerset. So that Saks Fifth Avenue was a standalone store. They ended up building Somerset Collection all the way around it. 1980, the Saks Fifth Avenue in Detroit closed. I went ahead and I looked on LoopNet, and that first floor there, that's over 35,000 square feet of retail. And in my mind, why go through building a whole development? What if you just and I have no source, this is just speculation, but wouldn't it be cool to stick something, either that or something like it? And it looks like the kind of city targets I've visited in other cities, that kind of integrated thing. What do you think about something like that? What about thinking about a different location, something, kind of signature?
I get it. I don't think that's the right location. I think it needs to be closer to a denser population and more apartment buildings. There's a lot of duplexes and single family homes and some apartments over there, but I would say from a big company's perspective, I think they would want to go towards a denser population.
I'd be interested to see those numbers. I would be, because there's definitely apartment buildings and things like that. But the idea being, to me, if you actually want to use something like the Q line to connect all these things together, maybe it could be useful. But I totally understand what you're saying there. Absolutely. I'm just looking at it going, if everybody's really obsessed about the city target and that's what we really care about, kind of focusing on that as opposed to all of the other stuff that's involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The Albert Kahn building is beautiful. I hope they find a good retail tenant soon. So just so other people go in and see it. They did a really great job with it. I think you were there at the same time I was touring it.
Yeah.
It's just spectacular.
It would be great to see that retail space, which has basically been sitting empty since they rehabbed it. It was empty before then, too. It would be great to see that retail space come back to something, especially some sort of, and I guess that's maybe one of the reasons why I put out there the idea of a city target or something, because a destination is kind of what needs to happen there. I don't know if that's the destination, but some sort of destination needs to happen there to draw people in, Yeah,
and across the street, I mean, the Fisher building did a good job of getting, a lot of retailers into that first floor, and you can get a lot of different things over there. It would be nice to just make it kind of more of a shopping destination in that area. I think it would certainly be nice for the neighborhood, the people who live around there.
Well, I will link to everything in the show notes. And let's get to the next thing. Now, we teased it a little bit on the Friday show, talking about a 9-story apartment building behind some existing facades on Broadway in downtown Detroit. Robin, this is really your story. You did a ton of work on it, and I want to hear a little bit more about it. Devon and I just kind of hit the thumbnail. Really, what are the details on this one?
This plan has been in the works for a while. It actually got the go-ahead in February of 2020. So you can imagine there was a little bit of a break there.
I hear something happened in between.
A little bit. So, and they did get an extension to all the projects that were in the works, but this one just didn't take off. So the plan was to take these 3 buildings kind of right in the middle of the block and keep the facades. And then, yes, they will demolish the rest of the buildings and then build a 9-story, a new build behind it, but keeping those historical facades and, making storefronts and everything out of them. At this point, one of the buildings, kind of the bigger one, that is the limestone one. This one apparently is a little too far gone. Kramer Design Group did the presentation. They're involved in most of the historical redevelopments in the city. They looked at the facade and it's a little too far gone. It was covered with this weird metal thing for a while that really didn't help
I remember that.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to tear down that facade and redo it with a black brick, but not just flat, kind of a more interesting design. They're going to take some of the elements that are there and incorporate them into the exterior and interior designs. So it's going to add a lot of density, and hopefully they can fill those retail spaces. It's a great location. I mean, it's weird because, so much has been done downtown. There's these little pockets that have not.
Yeah.
That are kind of like these deserts, and this block is one of them, and this whole block is going to drastically change in the next few years. So if, they get all this residential and they can fill this retail, it's going to be really great, because right next door, the Harvard Square Center, that's going to be redeveloped into apartments. Bedrock's going to be doing that. And then the building on the corner is going to be a hotel. So there's going to be a lot happening over there.
I kind of look at this like the Madison block, where there are things happening all the way around it. So all the things that you mentioned. And then on that same block on the other side, Dennis Archer Jr. owns a couple of properties over there. And in an interview earlier this year, he told me that there's a couple of restaurant concepts going in there. I mean, I know there was a seafood restaurant there for a while. I know that's the home of the Michigan Chronicle in that area, but he's looking at investing in some things. And I feel like that timing starts to work, where you start building complete blocks, which I think is a really important thing when you're talking about like downtown development and city development, to say, okay, a lot of things are interesting and they're all happening on one block. That's kind of how cities are supposed to work.
Yeah. And if you remember back, I believe it was 2016, there was this whole big splash about the Harmony Park redevelopments. There were a bunch of them that were announced that didn't really materialize.
Yeah.
And I have seen and heard some recent developments as well that would be new builds, like kind of right on the other side of this. So maybe, once these start going, hopefully we can get that other side of the block going too.
For sure. I mean, the old Hemeter building that was done by Lear or whatever, that's been sitting empty for a long time too. That got rehabbed and then just kind of sits there right now, So there's a lot of unused potential in that corner.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because, a lot of residential coming to that block. I know we talked about to Devon a little bit about pricing. It's interesting because it's kind of, I kind of describe it as being right in between the Hudson's site, which is going to be massively expensive, and the Exchange, which is a new build. I went in there last winter when they completed. They got some penthouses, they got some, a lot of apartments, but they're on the pricier side too. So it'll be interesting to see, once this almost gets finished, how they're going to price everything.
How are you feeling about the pricing? Are you thinking that higher end is sustainable? Or do we really need to test the market and see how it goes?
I mean, test the market, sure, but there's a lot of stuff that's asking a lot of money right now. I don't know who these people are who are buying it. I don't know. It's a tough call right now.
Well, if you're somebody who bought one of them, dailydetroit@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. Now, a couple of food things I want to mention. A longtime bakery in Oak Park is closing. It had been going since 1915. The Star Bakery, they are closing on July 2nd due to rising labor and goods costs, according to a press release, and ongoing difficulties from the pandemic. They're going to be still selling some of their goods at Diamond Bakery in West Bloomfield. But, this is a longtime baking institution, a Jewish institution, that part of the Jewish community that is a big deal for it to be lost. And I know there's a lot of coverage around it. And I know that Oak Park is near your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I'm over in Oak Park, and there's still a big Jewish community here. So this is too bad that this longtime business is shutting down.
But I do have an opening to add. Now, do you like Indian food?
I love Indian food.
Have you been to Pink Garlic, also in Oak Park?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so they're actually getting a second location, this time down in Allen Park over at Ecorse Road. I think it's interesting to pick that as a second location in a former bakery. But an eagle-eyed listener spied that, sent it in to us, and more Indian food. I like that place because it tastes good and it's good value for money, which is like a rare combination. And it feels like, they quietly have designs on, making a big splash in Metro Detroit.
Yeah, that's great that they're expanding. I highly recommend their food. Indian food is my comfort food, so I'll order from there once in a while.
All right. Well, with that, we are done for today. Of course, feedback dailydetroit@gmail.com. Thanks to all of our members, patreon.com/dailydetroit for helping keep this thing going. A little programming note, Devon's schedule is a bit shuffled. So on Friday, I'm going to be celebrating Detroit Style Pizza Day with longtime friend of the show, Karen Dybis. I cannot wait to do it. We're going to be recording actually at the original Buddies on Conant. I think Wes from Buddies is going to show up over there. So that's going to be a lot of fun because I did not realize that Friday is Detroit Style Pizza Day.
I didn't know that either, but Karen's great. I actually saw, some of her book when she was working on it. She's a fun person to talk to.
Well, Robin Runyan, thank you so much for stopping in. And, Norris is out of town. Otherwise, he usually joins us on Wednesdays. So I thank you for stepping in and doing the work. I really appreciate you.
For sure. And I'll see you at a happy hour later.
Yes. All right. With that, I am Jer Stays. Thank you so much for listening to your Daily Detroit. Remember that you are somebody. We'll see you around town.